Fillmore Central High School instituted a Mountain Scholar Club several years ago. The Scholar Club is to reward students for their academic excellence. The criteria to become a club member are to maintain a 3.5 grade point average or higher, with all grades being a C or better. The award is based on the previous year's academic record. This year's award is based on the 18-19 school year. Therefore, only the 10th through 12th grade students are eligible for this honor. A student must also be enrolled as a full-time student at Fillmore Central Schools. At this time, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. Today's speaker is Mr. Richard Keith, our superintendent. Mr. Keith was raised on a farm in central Iowa. He graduated from Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa. He received his master's degree from the University of Northern Iowa and an education specialist degree from Iowa State University. He has been a teacher, coach, principal, and superintendent. His wife Diane and him have 3 children and 8 grandchildren, who all live in Iowa. Both Mr. and Mrs. Keith will be retiring at the end of this school year and moving back to Iowa to be closer and spend more time with their family. We wish them the very best, and please help me welcome Mr. Richard Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Olstead, for a nice introduction, and thank you, Mr. Olstead and Mrs. Olstead, for setting this up and all the organization that goes into it. And again, good morning, everyone. It is an honor for me to get selected to speak at the Scholar Club ceremony. When Mrs. Olstead said something to me about it, I said, well, isn't that reserved for past Fillmore Central grads only? That's what I thought. Well, it doesn't have to be. So. Thank you for the invitation, and I'll try to keep my remarks brief, but I want to start off by saying special congratulations to our sophomores, juniors, and seniors that have been awarded with Scholar Club status. It's their efforts in doing well in their schoolwork that is being recognized. It's a result of putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, and sacrifice. Sometimes there's a lot better things or maybe more fun things that they could be doing than studying for a test or working on a paper or something that their parents are saying, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. And we congratulate them for the willingness to make that sacrifice and do what they can to make themselves better students. Today I want to focus on a couple of different things. First of all, why is Scholar Club important? And why do we celebrate the academic success of students? Schools are very good at celebrating things like sports accomplishments, music accomplishments, drama accomplishments. A lot of times we don't talk very much about academic success. And it's very great that we have this program that we do exactly that we recognize those kinds of successes, because it's the academic success a lot of times that leads to life success. And I'm not going to sit there and say, because I'm going to talk to those of you that are not sitting up here in the Scholar Club, but it does point that they're working in the right direction. A lot of the success in later life goes back and points to what did you do to get to that point. To start with, I want to talk a little bit about my background. As Mr. Olstead said, I did grow up on a farm, small town, very similar to Harmony or Preston, central Iowa, same kind of small town values, looked after closely by people, not only my own family, but community members. Always knew what we were doing. My parents usually knew what I did before I got home. Things like that were all part of the small town background. We celebrated success, and there was an emphasis on education. throughout my life, I saw a lot of changes in things. And anybody in my generation, and I'll probably date myself pretty quickly, but you know, as I grew up, we had a party line telephone. Meaning you could pick up the phone off the wall and listen to what your neighbors were talking about to each other or somebody else. And when the telephone rang, you had to know, was it our ring or is it our neighbor's ring? I think there was about 5 or 6 families on our party line. Once we got modernized and we had our own phone and our own line, wow, that was big progress. And of course, through those changes, we went through going into modern times, I guess you could call them, when cell phones became a thing of the future, and now you don't see a student hardly around anywhere that doesn't have a smartphone. So I've seen those kinds of changes. When I went to college, I remember when I was a junior in college and I was taking a statistics class. Now, statistics is a requirement for anybody that majors in education, because at that time you're basically required to grade things on a curve, meaning that no matter how well you did in your class, a certain number of kids were supposed to fail and a certain number of kids were supposed to pass. A certain number of F's, a certain number of A's, a few more D's, a few more B's, and the majority of the students were supposed to get C's. And so we took courses on statistics to teach you how to use those kinds of things. And we had to learn great big long formulas on how to figure them. And it was really tough, but it really became easy when in my junior year, they invented things, a thing called a pocket calculator. Wow, all of a sudden, we didn't have to use pencil and paper to do all these formulas in our head or on a slide rule. We could use a calculator. And then they made scientific calculators where you could actually have the formula in the calculator. And wow, we're really getting modern now. And it was about that time when schools were, in the 70s, kind of losing very much emphasis on having each kind of importance. During the 70s, schools were kind of thought of, you don't really make a difference. Kids are going to do what they're going to do no matter what the school does. And that was kind of it was the post-civil rights era, and everybody was kind of left to do kind of what they wanted. And things like foreign languages and emphasis on science and math started going to the wayside, and very few students were actually taking those courses because there was no emphasis on those. In the 80s, then all of a sudden we found out the nation wasn't doing very well. So they started having educational reform, and things like Nation at Risk were written, and there's a lot of different reform efforts done at that time. And we started turning things around in schools. I'll get to a little bit of that a little bit later too. When I graduated from college and got my first teaching job, really my emphasis at that time was on athletics. I wanted to coach. Okay, so I had a teaching job, and it was a great job. But as I look back on that time, what I really remember is the teaching part of it and helping kids succeed academically. It's kind of funny because some of the things I was teaching at that time, I was a high school business education teacher and a high school physical education teacher. It's kind of part-time, or part of both jobs. So I saw a couple different aspects of students. In business education, I taught things like office procedures, where we taught kids how to use spirit master duplicators, and stencil duplicators, and how to do filing, how to run calculators and keyboards. And then I also taught a separate course on shorthand, if you can imagine. So in shorthand, for those of you that probably have no clue what shorthand is, it's a way that a boss can dictate to his assistant or her assistant things that they want them to type up. And since the boss is usually talking fairly rapidly, the assistant has to write really rapidly. And shorthand is the method there where you write everything kind of in abbreviations. If you look at it now, it looked like a foreign language. And if I looked at it now, it looked like a foreign language. But that was one of the things I got to teach. And that was a fun experience too. I was also teaching keyboarding. At that time, we really didn't call it keyboarding because we didn't have computers. So I taught typing. I had a typing class with about 30 typewriters in the classroom. Back row was all the manuals, because if we didn't have enough kids, they could move to the front of the electric ones. And in the electric ones, you had some that looked a lot like the manuals, only they were electrically, you didn't have to push the key so hard. And in the front row were the new modern IBM electric typewriters with the little ball that spun around. And it was a real experience for me learning how to not only teach those things to different levels and have kids learn how to type and type rapidly, but also how to repair typewriters. I learned a lot about typewriter repair in my first few years. As I moved on through teaching and coaching, things started evolving in technology fairly rapidly. By the end of 5 years, after I started my first job, Apple came out with the first Apple II computer. And we got one at the school I was at, and it was in the math department, and I asked the math teacher, hey, can I have a shot at doing something with it? Okay, but it really doesn't do much unless you give it a program and tell it what to do. So there really wasn't much we could do there, but then we also started coming out with typewriters that not only were electric, but they had a memory, and it was a lot easier to crack. We started coming out with then Apple IIe computers that you could put in word processing programs. And we were really excited when we got the computers that had the 3.5-inch hard floppy disk rather than the 5.5-inch that always just crashed on us. So, I've seen a lot of changes in those things as I've experienced in my teaching and administrative career. But the thing that goes back to is the need to learn to adapt and the need to continue your education and don't ever stop learning. During the time that I was, of course, teaching and as an administrator, my wife and I did have 3 boys, and we did emphasize education with them. So we were pleased to know that they did well in school, and we're happy with the careers they've chosen, and wonderful grandchildren, and great family. Okay, so that's a little bit about my background and where I'm going to come from. So to start off, I'm just going to ask a question that anybody can shout out. What is the purpose of school? To learn. To learn, of course. Purpose of school. Louder. Social integration. Okay, I've heard a few different things. Learning teamwork, learning discipline, social integration, things like that. Those are all aspects to school that are important. Those are things that we hope you get developed within you as a result of being in school. However, when I was taking my master's program at the University of Northern Iowa, one of my professors posed that question to us as a class, what is the purpose of school? And it was, we came up with the same kinds of things that you did. But the real answer, and what he said, the real purpose of school is to develop the intellect. And the intellect is your ability to reason, to think, to process, and to make decisions. And that's what we're trying to do when we give you all these other experiences in school, developing your intellect. Through that, then you can take what you've learned, you can take your abilities, and you can take your experiences and move into the world. So once you graduate from Fillmore Central, what might you be? Okay, in my many years as an educator, I've seen a lot of kids graduate, and what they become is just, it's amazing. And I'm just going to share a few things. I've seen kids that I've had in school that are airline pilots, scientists, entertainers, politicians, doctors, lawyers, business owners, factory workers, dentists, farmers, software developers, electricians, military leaders, hairdressers, welders, veterinarians, real estate agents, law enforcement, bankers, graphic designers, and judges. And that's just a sampling of things that you might become after school. Unfortunately, I've also seen some of the kids that I see go through school that have gone the other way. Some that have become convicts. Some that have become substance abusers and basically dropped out of society. And some that have died as a result of some of the decisions they made. So I think what we want to do is challenge you to be the kind of person that's going to get you into that first list. Just a couple stories about some of these. Brad was one of the students that I had as one of my first years of teaching. He was a good student, great athlete, and he went on to become an airline pilot. Now, one of the things that you'll find out that most people, and I think all the ones that I'll mention here today, they didn't leave high school thinking, this is what I'm going to be when I leave high school. This is going to be my career path. It's all been a result of, they started somewhere, but they had something to build on. They had a personality that said, I'm going to be successful. They had a personality that said, I'm going to work hard in school, and that's going to be kind of a reputation I have, and it's going to be a habit that I have, that I'm not going to fail, that I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to keep succeeding. And because of that background, they're able to move into something bigger and better. Entertainers. Kind of a funny story. One of the students that I had as a student when I was a principal was very good in music. He had a great voice. He could play the keyboard like crazy. And when my oldest son one time, he was living in Pittsburgh at the time, got a call and said, hey, Tim called. Talking too loud. Anyway, I'll try to raise my voice. Tim called and said, hey, George Strait has got a concert in Pittsburgh. It's a big amphitheater outside of Pittsburgh, and you want to go? And we said, certainly. You know, it was, anyway, Tim was playing the keyboards for Julianne Hough when she was singing at the time. So he got us tickets. We were up pretty close. There's probably, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 people at in this amphitheater at this concert. And so after Julianne got done, Tim was playing the keyboard for her. We went back to our tour bus, and so I've got a picture on my Facebook page somewhere with Julianne Hough on her tour bus. It's kind of a funny story. And that was Tim, that was one of our students. And the embarrassing part of that is that Tim had to tell Julianne that, oh, and by the way, when he was my principal, he suspended me from school one time. At that same concert, we got to watch of course, the George Strait concert, and it was a great experience. We watched him backstage, and that was one of the entertainers that I had. Another entertainer, not really an entertainer, but he's been a great music student, but he went to Nashville and became a sound engineer, and now he's a sound engineer for Darius Rucker. So, like last May when Darius Rucker opened for Garth Brooks in Minneapolis, Joel was on the sound board running the show. Doctors. I know that I've had at least a dozen different students that became doctors. The one I'll talk about happens to be my son. That he got interested in physical therapy. And as a physical therapist in school, you decide, well, if you take physical therapy school, you just want to become a doctor because you're taking the same courses. So he ended up becoming a doctor, and now is the president of the Iowa Society of Plastic Surgeons and works for the University of Iowa as a plastic surgeon. Kim is a girl that got into the National Guard. She was a very good student from Cedar Falls, Iowa. And as Kim was in the National Guard, she got interested in the law enforcement side of it, and now is a FBI agent. So you never know where you're going to go with these things. All of these students did the kinds of things, they developed habits of, I'm going to make myself a good person, a good student, and I'm going to make that a habit. And so that no matter what happens, I've got that to go back on. The colleges will tell you they want to know your ACT score. ACT measures your intelligence. The colleges prefer that because it puts you on an even playing field with all the other students. Grade point averages don't always mean the same. One school might give A pluses and you could get a 4.33, where some schools just go to A, which is a 4.0. So they use ACT. GPA would be the other indicator that might tell whether or not you're going to be a success. There's no guarantee, but the grade point is a much better indicator because that shows that you've got a personality and you've got those habits already formed that you're going to do well. So a lot of students, it'd be great to see the entire gym filled with students getting in the honor club because there's no cutoff. We don't grade on curves anymore. We grade strictly on how well do you do. Okay? So don't let that get in the way. GPA then is not only your personality, it shows that you have grit. It shows that you have the emotional capacity to do some long-term planning and deferred gratification from some of the things that get in the way from your education. There's a lot of things that you can do in school to help this. One of them is speech. Last year I loved the speech that Josh Schaffner gave here. He talked about the importance of being in speech. And for those of you that were here last year and listened to him, that's great. You know, there's a lot of ways you can improve yourself by becoming a better speaker, speech class, going out for speech as an activity, FFA activities, things like that. So get involved in those, and like Josh said, it's not going to hurt you at all, and it'll be fun on the way. So, why worry about it now? Why do we want you to be concerned about being in a Scholar Club or not? It's because you have future opportunities, not lost opportunities. I know some students, and I know a family member, he wasn't dumb by any means, but he had this dream that he was going to be a veterinarian. But in school, he wasn't taking hardly any science or math. You know, and when he got to college and found out, well, the amount of math and science you're going to have to take now, you're not going to be able to do it. And he didn't. So that was a lost opportunity. Had he known those kinds of things up front, I think he would have succeeded in his dream. Continuing schooling. I'm not going to say schooling. Continuing education. Education's changing. Okay? Like we do with snow days now, there's a lot of opportunities to become educated online. There's a lot of opportunities to use the computer to get your education. Take advantage of those. Those are things that I never dreamed would be available, you know, when I was growing up in your age. Also, you get the prerequisite knowledge that you need to be successful later in life. It's hard to take an advanced level math class in college if you haven't taken the high school level math classes you need to be ready to do that. If you have to start playing catch up once you're in college, it makes it a lot tougher. So worry about it now while you're in school. Mrs. Olstead lines up college recruiters and military reps for you guys to visit from time to time, that want to meet you and want to tell you what they have to offer. Take advantage of that. Go see them, talk to them, and don't take it from me, take it from them. Listen to them. What do I need to be to become a person in the military? What do I need to do to be a good college student? Or what can I do if I want to become the best welder and work at a local business? Talk to those people, find out what they want you to do. That's real life. I want to share one more story quick. This is about my niece, Melissa. Melissa, she's not real old, she's in her 30s, I guess. But she graduated from high school. I don't know if she would have been in an honor club or not. She was an okay student. Went to a community college, and then went to the Air National Guard in Sioux City as a career. And in that career, she was just doing some of the things that they made most of the lower level recruits do, sweeping, things like that. And she worked her way up, and she realized education and continuing education is going to get me somewhere else. So she went on and became a crew chief. And in Sioux City, the Air National Guard operates tankers. They refuel jets and things like that in midair. So a crew chief is the person that kind of oversees all the maintenance and everything that happens with a particular jet. So these jumbo KC-135 tankers are, hundreds of millions of dollar machines. Okay, they're big ticket items. And I've seen pictures of her with her crew. And a lot of times her crew would be kids not much older than you guys. Kids that got out of high school, maybe did college, maybe not, but then continued learning. And now they're working on, and they're the crew that operates these hundreds of million-dollar airplanes for the United States government. So Melissa was a crew chief. She oversaw all that. And then she decided she was getting tired of being a crew chief, so she wanted to be the person that ran the boom. The boomer on a tanker is the person that, as a F-14 or a stealth bomber comes up to get refueled, the boomer operates the boom for the fuel line to connect to the other jet. And so she has to, it's a dizzying amount of gauges and things to watch, but she has to then lay on her stomach and direct that boom to refill that other jet at 40,000 feet. And so she did that, and she did that for 8 or 9 years. And during that time, she decided, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. What do I want to do next? And she decided she wanted to be a nurse. So she went back to nursing school while she was doing this, still in the National Guard. Got her nursing degree, and she just finished her final flight out of Sioux City as a boom operator just a month ago, and now she's a school nurse in a small school in Iowa. So, you don't have to think you have to be in a scholar club to do those kinds of things. So any of you guys out there, if you decide there's something you want to try, there's something you want to do, go after it. But start those habits right now of doing your best in school. Because once you determine that my grades are important, my grade point average is important, and my success as a student is going to develop that habit in me, that I'm going to become better and better and better. I said I was done with stories. I'm telling more about my nephew James. James wasn't a good student in high school, but he was smart. And he got out of high school, and he didn't go to college, but he had a couple of menial jobs and made some money. And he was working in New Hampton, just down the road, at the soybean candle factory. And that closed. It got sold, moved out east, and so all those people lost their jobs. And as part of their settlement, when they lost their jobs, they could then get some training. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, well, I'm really interested in mechanics. Go. We went down to Calamar to take some schooling on transmission work, and got a job with a I'm not sure what town John is actually in. He lives in Waukona, so not too far away. But he works for a business that builds transmissions. And transmissions are, that they build are for things like trucks. So they're pretty sturdy things. But James went to school, got this job, and through the job, he started building and designing his own transmissions. And I know he's probably 35 now, but he has a patent on transmission that he's built, and just last year, a transmission that he built was used in a dragster that won the National Hot Rod Association championship. So he's all of a sudden, from not being good, but he had that drive and he wanted to continue and be better and better and better. So it's not too late, okay? Last thing I'll say, teachers, you're not off the hook either. Realize that students, what you're teaching is important. What you're teaching is important enough that you want everybody to be successful at it. So work your hardest to make sure that they do learn. Don't let them get by with not turning in work. Stay after them, make them do it well. So it's not too late. You need to evaluate your real desires, focus your priorities, and above all, celebrate each other when you have successes. Those of you in the Scholar Club now, you can look at each other and say, good job, good job, good job. But all of you, when you do well on a school project or you do well on a test, say, hey, great job. Because that person you might be helping or congratulating might be the person that fixes your car someday. It might be the person that is doing an operation on you someday. I love that commercial where the doctor, is it good enough to have an okay doctor? So we want everybody to be their best. So students, no matter whether you're here or up there, help each other out because your future happiness and your future depends on everyone. So thank you.
Now the advisors for the junior class, Mrs. Connington and Mrs. Thomas. Kaylee Arndt, daughter of Tanya and Dustin Arndt. Christiana Corson, daughter of Carlisle and Tracy Corson. Zachary Hagerud, son of Howard and Nancy Hagerud. Trevor Hirschberger, son of Simon and Mary Hirschberger. William Holtzel, son of Michelle Van Healy. Carson Keeney, son of Benji and Christy Keeney. Jeremy O'Connor, son of Derek and Janet O'Connor. Adeline Peters, daughter of Jim and Tina Peters. Kelly Ristow, daughter of Lynn and Kim Ristow. Kennedy Ristow, daughter of Brian Ristow and Heather Vincent. Ashlyn Simon, daughter of Josh and Angie Simon. Hannah Storley, daughter of Bob and Jennifer Storley. Xander Sylvester, son of Gina Lindeland and Eric Sylvester and Jeff Lindeland. Wallace Whelan, son of Shelley Whelan. Olivia Wilford, daughter of Travis and Rochelle Wilford. Abby Yoder, daughter of Amanda Means and Andrew Yoder. Now with our seniors, we'll invite Mrs. Ristow and Mr. Mensink up. And with the seniors, we've asked them to share a little bit of their plans because come May, we're kicking them out the door. And so we'll take a little extra time with each of our seniors that earned this honor. Michael Barrett, son of Brad and Liz Barrett, plans to attend a 4-year university to obtain a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering. Emma Breitsprecher, daughter of Eric and Mickey Breitsprecher, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year university to obtain a bachelor's degree in special education. Kenna Gotsky, daughter of Travis and Tammy Gotsky, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year university and is undecided on a major. Rogan Hahn, son of Chris Hahn and Melanie Cradle Hahn, plans to pursue a career in construction industry. Haley Hines Lang, daughter of Derek Lang and Kimberly Keeney, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year university to obtain a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. Krista Jorgensen, daughter of Archie and Sherry Jorgensen, a 3-year member, plans to attend Minnesota State University of Mankato to obtain a degree in dental hygiene. Madeline Kinneberg, daughter of Suanne and Sheldon Kinneberg, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year college. It is undecided on a major. Elizabeth Liu, daughter of Ruth Lou Snyder and Waihan Donna Liu, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year university and major in psychology or art therapy. Marzoff, son of Jim and Sheila Marzoff, plans to attend RCTC to pursue a degree in law enforcement. Molly McKernan, daughter of Dorothy and Peter McKernan, a 3-year member, plans to attend the University of Northern Iowa and major in criminology or graphic design. Ian Shue, son of James and Heather Shue, a 3-year member, plans to attend a 4-year university to obtain a degree in zoology. Annie Sicking, daughter of Mark Sicking and Kelsey Sicking, a 3-year member, plans to attend a post-secondary institution and is undecided on a major. Zara Rokemeyer, daughter of Tara and Jason Peterson, a 3-year member, plans to attend RCTC for 2 years and then transfer to Minnesota College of Art and Design to pursue a degree in drawing and painting and creative writing. Gordon Winger, daughter of James and Miranda Winger, plans to attend South Dakota State University to major in dairy manufacturing and minor in milk marketing. Once again, congratulations to the students on my left and my right, their families and their closest friends on quite an accomplishment. I challenge the sophomores and juniors to be on my left as the years go on, and to all the students that are in the bleachers with family and friends, challenge yourself not only on a daily basis, but on a yearly basis. Giving your best, giving that extra time, staying to the grind throughout the year. It can be difficult, but it is worth the effort. So thank you again to Mr. Richard Keith for your words. Thank you to the students, the teachers, and just a few things. Students, in a few minutes you'll go back to class. Students that have this honor, we'll start with the seniors, probably in this area right there, for families and the newspaper to take pictures. And then when the seniors are done, juniors, stay put until they head to the refreshments, and then you go to that area, and then the sophomores